Welcome. If you're watching, um, that was just some blues in E minor, uh, played to the lovely backing track made by Quist, or aka Quist Jam on YouTube. Um, but yeah, if you're here, if you're on Twitter, on Twitch, um, come say something in the chat so we can get this rolling. Uh, is the audio okay? Can you guys hear? If there's like a buzz or a... I can probably change the audio settings as we go along, but welcome people, welcome. We're just going to be doing some jamming and talking some philosophy. I don't really have anything particular to talk about. I just felt like playing and doing some maybe some Q&A kind of thing. So we'll see. But yeah, we're just getting started here. So I'm gonna try and like play and sing as play and sort of just talk as I go. I might get too much into the playing at some point and not talk. I might get too much into talking and not play. But we'll see how it goes. Let's see. This next one is melodic pop, melodic pop backing track in D minor. Let's see how that goes. So one of the reasons I enjoy the blues so much, both the artists and listening to the music and playing it myself as well, um, is because of the oral transmission tradition of the nature of the tradition. Um, for those of you who know the history of the blues, it comes from um, the songs, the kind of music um, that slaves in America started making, and it grew from there. And it really had no written basis to it, and um, it was really built on a strong non-written oral tradition. What this means is that, much like being in philosophy, the blues is something you feel. You can't really like write it. You can write down the scale and the note and the notes and the music, the sheet music or the tab, and you can give it to someone and tell who knows how to play guitar, who knows technically how to play guitar, asking them to play it. They can play it, but I just don't think it'll have the blues. Right? You can just bend a note. Anyone can learn how to bend a note. The lower you go on the fret, it's harder. But to be just able to play it with feeling, and then to let it go. That's something you need to like learn, but that can't be really like taught in notes. You just have to practice it. And I didn't understand that. For me, my journey of philosophy and my journey in music has been largely very similar, in that I'm self-taught in both. I've just um, I don't have a BA or an MA in philosophy, and I don't have any formal musical training. I've just sort of picked up everything, and then I find myself doing both things. Um, one of them professionally. I can't do music professionally. Musician's life is um, way more challenging than a philosopher's life. I like to play music as I sit around. But um, one of the one of the problems I had with philosophy and with music um, was the question of use. Like, what use is it? What use is philosophy? Hey, Future Homestead, welcome. What use is music? If your worldview ends at use and worth, I feel bad about that. Use heals. You feel the blues. I'm gonna play a little track, maybe play it a little lower on the volume here. Let me know if it sounds okay in the chat. Thank you. You can see my cat chilling. Um, I I started learning guitar in 2008, and I don't know. I didn't know why I wanted to learn guitar. It was something to do um, in the summer, and I went to this old guitar teacher near my house in Mumbai, and he problem with my camera. Um, he taught me for like a couple of months how to play like sheet notation music and basic chords and the fretboard and all of that. But I was always like, no, I don't want to learn this shit. I don't want to play this shit. I want to play rock. I want to play guitar solos and all that. And he was like, patience. And that I was 15. I had no patience. I'm only learning patience when I'm 30 now. But I basically didn't really like do anything for that towards that goal, right? Like he taught me all that stuff, but I never really like practiced it, or I never really like cared about it. And instead I found I found YouTube videos that could help me learn. There's Justin Guitar, Marty Schwartz, Papa Stash, and I just sort of started learning, right? But I started learning songs that I wanted to play. Because my problem was always, how do the greats do what the greats do? And I tried to do what they did, right? Like I'd copy. And this was for music. Like I'd learn how to play songs, right? Try to memorize the songs, the chords, and try to play them exactly. When I draw, I'd try to draw like the comic book artists I like to draw. My favorite, B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan. In newer people, Quinn Sullivan is a great young blues artist. Who is I had the chance to see him at a blues festival once. But like that's the thing, right? Like I tried to play like these people. I tried to like emulate them. Try to figure out what they're doing. I think I was doing the same thing in philosophy, is that I wanted to ask and answer the big questions about, life, the universe, and everything and all that. But I was trying to find my way by emulating those people. And I've learned that about myself, that was something that I used to do a lot with everything. And that had me in like a little bit of a quandary of like self, right? Like I'm very good at imitating other people, but do I have any originality at all? That was actually like an important like issue in my maybe like 10, 12 years ago. And when I was in college and in Canada, I was in university, I was at by the way, how do you guys like the new camera angle? Let's pick. I think the mic from the camera is really great too. It's like a wide mic, so it picks up the amp and my voice. When I was in Canada, I was staying back for winter break while all my friends went home, and my friend Matt, my fraternity brother, left his guitar and amp in the basement at the house we were staying at. And I was like, can I play during this winter? And he's like, yeah, knock yourself out, right? So um, my guitar had been in India and I hadn't really like played guitar for a while. And so I just, over that winter break, slowly got back into it. And what I realized was I had kind of forgotten the technical aspects of playing the songs, like the memorizing the solo. I'd forgotten where exactly which note is and all of that. But over all these years of imitating, my muscle memory had built up a kind of knowledge of its own. And that kind of led me to think that if I'm only good at imitating people, then perhaps what I'm good at is like improvising at any given moment. And that really got me thinking about the blues more, and I started reading more about the musicians I was listening to and the music I was listening to, and where I knew where it came from, but like how they did it, how they played it, and a lot of the blues comes from, well, feeling blue, but that blue doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? And this is where we get into like a little bit of the philosophy stuff. I'm gonna play a little track here. What do you mean by spirituals? Future Homestead. Yeah. Like gospel music and spiritual music in the South, in the deep South, in the Americas. Yes, that's where the blues comes from, and it comes from this idea of feeling not feeling somewhere in between, and I'll tell you why I feel why. Oh yeah, no, because sorry, 1 second. Yeah, no, blues has like varied origins. The chain gang songs, the Mississippi Delta blues, the gospel music. Um, but all of it comes from feeling out of place, neither here nor there, neither not at home here, not at home. A kind of not belonging, a kind of um, feeling blue. Um, and for those of you who might know a little bit of music theory, the blue note, right, notes here. Right? In this. It's this in-between note. These two notes belong in the regular scale, in the A minor pentatonic scale that I'm playing, which is right. So this transition makes sense. This transition makes sense. Whoop. Now we're in the middle. Notice though, it's not out of key. From here I can go anywhere. So this blue note, the middle note, sounds off. It's in between where we're conditioned to be comfortable in these modes. Here. Right? That sounds incomplete. 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 It sounds like you're stopping halfway. You want to complete it. You want to go there. And in fact, the longer you come and you stop here, the weirder it'll sound. See? That completes it though. Right? But when I'm playing it within the flow of it, you won't even realize it. I'm going over it. Right? If I isolate it, you feel weird. This is why the blue note, and the blues scale express the absurd. What does absurd translate to? Ad meaning out of. Surd meaning tune in Latin. So we get this form of music that can express, in a sense, the in between. And Callum Sims, thank you very much. Thank you. I hope I don't get like copyright struck or whatever. It's something I wanted to do for a long time. I've been philosophy and blues have been two central points of my life, like an elliptical orbit, two full side. But look, if you think about it, philosophy is a way to make sense of the chaos, and I said it in my last stream that I don't have that book here right now, but chaos is more fundamental than order, right? What is the musical scale? It's the 7, or a pentatonic scale is 5 notes put in one order. You change the order, you have a different mode. Lydian, Mixolydian, blah, 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 all that. So, one second. I forgot to tell my musician friend that I'm going live doing this. I should tell him. But no, thank you, Callum. Thank you very much. Appreciate it from Twitter. We have this scale, and the order is like I said, the notes in which the scale, which fit the scale, which sound good, and depending on the order, which scales fit in what order, which notes fit in what order, you get a minor scale which sounds gloomy, or a major scale that sounds up, right. And I think the blues note messes with that conditioning of ours. Right? So let's try another one, right? Now, if you want, I can play. This is called Groovy Guitar Backing Track, Blues in A Minor. So I can play it in A minor. I know that A major, the dominant minor in the key of A is F sharp minor. So if I play F sharp minor, I'm actually playing A major on an A minor thing. Watch. I was like, hey, we'll go back to minor. Um, the blues is really just it's about playing. Right? You can play the blues in metal, right? Like you listen to Iron Maiden, got tons of blues influence in them. Um, one second. I mean, look, even in like ACDC, this might be loud, but this is like an ACDC style backing track. It's ACDC, so shut down. Um, my point is, blues is everywhere. You can play the blues anywhere and everywhere, and it's quite like what how I look at philosophy, because as I was saying before, um, broadly speaking, philosophy is a way to make sense of the chaos. I mentioned this in my last stream. If we are to think of something like chaos in our modern day language, chaos is disorder. Uh, but not really, kind of, not really. Um, Chaos is in Greek terminology what comes before the cosmos. Now we think of cosmos as universe. No, cosmos for the Greeks meant well ordered universe or well ordered world, not just world. We call our universe cosmos because we've we believe it is ordered and we try to figure out the order of it. And we're like there's chaos. And from chaos comes order and all of that. But the point is, and this is from Drew Hyland's book, Heidegger and the Greeks, that chaos for the Greeks was not disorder. It was the gap between order. It was that space where things make no sense, after which things shape and take sense. After which things take shape and make sense. Because of which things shape and take shape and make sense. If we didn't have gaps, we wouldn't be able to differentiate one thing from the other, because how would we know where one thing began and the other thing ended? It's because we notice the gaps. We notice absence. It's because we notice absence that we notice the presence of different things. Right? We notice presence. Obviously, we notice presence because we see all these present. We see everything that is present to us. But the fact that we see everything present to us as different things, as a wall, as a window, as a computer, as an amp, as a guitar, as a pick, and it's not all just an unfocused blur. Like when you're waking up in the morning, like from a nap, like or from a nap, or like in the morning when you're waking up and you're not quite fully awake yet, you're not asleep, and everything's confusing. The sounds are all the same. You can't tell whether who's like, if someone's yelling at you, your cat or your dog is probably trying to wake you up, your alarm clock is yelling at you. The sunlight might be coming in, someone might have turned on the light, you might suddenly be aware of like, oh, I'm too hot or I'm too cold, and everything is this sort of confusion, almost like kind of like, right, like almost being born anew, kind of. To like, if you really focus on it, we're so used to like wanting to make sense of it really quickly that we wake up and shake ourselves up, drink some coffee to get going. But no, like if you allow that sort of fuzzy state to not extend, but just play itself out, it's a great state to notice some things about yourself, about the world, about how we look at the world. Um, and honestly, it's not qualitatively very different from what I feel like I'm doing when I'm playing guitar, or I'm very focused on like philosophical thinking or writing something, like what I'm zoned in. In the sense that when I'm playing, I'm so focused on this that I'm not actually focused on this. that I can now play and then read the chat at the same time, and I can play and then talk at the same time, and I can. But that required me to have a lot of focus in the beginning on this and learn this to do that, be able to do that. Because in the beginning, I was like, and now sure, I still look, but it's not because I have to. When I'm learning something new, I still look, but it's more to look. It's more looking because not because looking helps my fingers go where they're supposed to go. No, I'm just looking because it's somewhere to look. Right? If it's a particularly challenging piece that I know is going to be that I'm like, oh yeah, I have to like focus at this. That actually takes me out of it, right? And I sometimes I end up like if I'm doing a little recording at home or something, I'll make a mistake because I'll be like, okay, I know the solo is coming up. Okay, I know the solo is coming up, and then when the solo comes up, I miss the beat or I miss the timing or I play the wrong note or I don't know something happens to take me out of that zone. But if I don't think about it, I'm just playing and playing and playing and I just keep playing. Even if the mistake happens, I don't realize it. That's how much into it I am. And I just flung my pick somewhere. Now I don't realize where. Now I don't know where it's gone. Guitar's problems 101. You don't need an acoustic guitar to lose your pick. I found it. Aha. Um, and so, as I was saying, that this in between, you want to call it the zone, you want to call it flow, whatever, is that place, that time when you're not really thinking, um, you're doing very much, uh, but when you kind of think about it, it pulls you out of it, right? It's like when you're a kid and you're learning how to ride a bike, and you have the training wheels on, and you learn how to ride with the training wheels, and then the first time that you get your training wheels off, your parent, your sibling, your uncle, aunt, whoever is teaching you how to ride the bike, they'll stand behind you and they'll push you and they'll be like, "I'm holding on, don't worry, don't worry." And you're like, "Okay, you're sure, right? You're sure, don't let go, don't let go." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, don't worry, keep going, keep going." And then with their support, you like start pedaling and you're going, and then they let go, but you don't realize it, right? And you're like, "Hey, I'm doing it, I'm doing it." And it's not until you look behind and you're like, "Oh shit, I'm not. Oh no, you let go, you promise you," and then you fall. But if you just keep going, you wouldn't realize that. And um, I think that was what was central for me in the blues and in philosophy was that um, I they both made me, they both required of me and made me more fluid than I used to be between my comfort zones, right? Because I started developing a kind of idea where if if I'm always uncomfortable, I don't really have a comfort zone. So um but that uncomfortable, that always being uncomfortable is the what we call um dukkha in Buddhism, right? And realization of that is part of overcoming it. um so for me, um to realize that I could do like use the blues to improvise, and not for anyone else, but just by improvising, make myself feel sort of the similar thing that I would feel by while teaching or writing and even teaching philosophy, especially teaching philosophy. That those two things really like help me out, right? And so the blue note, for me, literally represents philosophy, uh, or not philosophy, but the target of philosophy. It's a sign. Um, Here be um, wisdom, not even wisdom, but like here be knowing. Right? When you play it, you know it. When you hear someone who knows it play it, you know it too. Um, and what that is for me, really honestly, escapes the words. Right? Because in a lot of the blues, it's the blues note, but it's also the sort of accent and um, letting be of the notes. If I'm to use a Heideggerian term, that's important, right? That gives you a different mood then, right? That gives you a different feeling. That and to really do that with words is not possible in the sense of speaking. No, you can definitely do it with words. Singers do it, vocalists do it, chorus singers, choir singers do it, opera singers do it, classical musicians, whether instrument or singing or whistling or flute or guitar, whatever it might be, music. That's what music kind of does, right? It in a way expresses that in between feeling that neither anything we do, anything we have, or anything we can know really can fix that in between feeling. No, no. And the reason I say that is because Aristotle says that there's three kinds of entities: ta, onta, logica, logical, mathematical entities; ta, onta, ethica, ethical, moral entities, good, bad. And then um, physical, ta, onta, physica, natural or physical entities, like things, physical material things. And kind of the point is that whatever you're looking for, you won't find it in these things, neither of these three things. You won't find the ultimate answer to life in ethical things like the world's constitutions and ethical accounts written by great philosophers. They'll give you conventional wisdom about how to live your everyday life, but they won't solve that in between thing, because that in between feeling is between this world and, well, whatever else. And it's in between feeling in between, even in this world, feeling out of place. So nothing in this world is going to, right? So no logical entity is going to explain that. You can have all the numbers and constants and logical rules and everything you want. Doesn't can't explain it, right? Um, and then things, yeah, there's only so many things that you can have that can make that feeling go away or like resolve that feeling. It doesn't. Even after you have all the things that you want, you still have something that you need but can't have, right? To use Gabriel Marcel's name for his book, Being and Having. Being is that which allows everything else to be had. But being itself cannot be had as a thing, as a being. But it can be played. The reason I say is because I started off this stream thinking about talking about use of both philosophy and music. But that's the point, right? That if philosophy and music both are ways to get to that which is beyond or between, in between the things or beyond the things, and then none of the things are going to help us. None of the things are going to help us really overcome that feeling. And if none of the things are going to help us overcome that feeling, then that's not really, a good sign. But the point is that this feeling, this need for wanting to, overcome this in between is beyond things, and thus it is beyond use. It is beyond all our concepts of use and worth, because it is that which gives rise to those concepts. It is because of the in-between that we can have worthful and worthless. So you can't ask what is the use of thinking about the in-between? No use at all. What is it worth? Oh, it is absolutely both worthless and beyond worthiness at the same time. Why? Because it gives rise to both of those. And so whatever this knowledge is, this feeling is that you would get from, say, doing really Zendala agreed. Yes, prior to value, prior to discrimination, prior to our categorizing of the world. Then, whatever it is that, you would know by playing the blues or like really doing philosophy or doing, Buddhist dhyana meditation. That knowledge is of no use at all, because it is the very knowledge of why things like use and stuff are important, or why they are valued at all, or why we have things like values, right? It's prior to value. And so if you're asking what is the use then of that knowledge, you're already asking the wrong question, right? And this is something what I honestly feel when people ask, when people are depressed and really down, and they ask, what is all this worth? Is it all this worth it? My genuine response, and this is not something I say to them because this would be incredibly insensitive, but my genuine response wants to be that our worldview shouldn't end at worth. Like it's kind of sad that we've been conditioned to think that worth is everything, use and utility is everything, and that there is nothing beyond to use value productivity value or worth value or anything like that. And it's almost like that MasterCard, that old MasterCard tagline, right? Um, money can't buy everything or whatever. Um, money can buy lots of things. For everything else, there's MasterCard or whatever. Like it's like that. Like what are you gonna get that? What are you gonna use to get that which is more than all the money? And if you get it, what like if you're all your thinking is money based, then what are you gonna do with it? Nothing. You're gonna keep thinking about what do I do with it, but there's no it. Zed saying the finger is useful for pointing to the moon. Yeah, no, it 100%, right? That was Descartes' mistake. He said, "I think, therefore I am," and people are like, "Nope." You like later philosophers like Marcel and Merleau-Ponty and Jaspers were like, "No, you kind of got it the other way around." I think, therefore I am, but you presuppose the I. You confused the thinking with the I. The I is the finger that points to the moon. What you're supposed to point to is that there is thinking. Thinking is being. Our being is thinking. There's no I. The thinking creates the I because we get a name and we're conditioned historically, socially, so on and so forth. Imagine living your life without a name. Like you're born and then you're just like out there. You don't have a name, no number, no your identity comes from what you call yourself, right? Me, a name I call myself. Yes. If you didn't have that name, we'd go insane. But that's only because we're conditioned to not wanting to be in between. Knowledge theory or philosophy may serve as his finger. Yes, I mean, knowledge theory or philosophy are all results of the self being conditioned to think in that way. But the point is, I mean, if you say like Nagarjuna, all knowledge, all theory, and all philosophy are ultimately empty because they are not the moon. They are not the Swabhava, the Niswabhavata. That's why we only have to understand every form of knowledge, every theory, or every philosophy only as the finger and never confuse it for the moon. Yes. Yeah, so that originally is from that Zen saying comes from Nagarjuna's Madhyamaka. Sarvadharmasya shunyata. All dharmas are empty. And this is why they're empty. Because they're not the moon. They're just ways pointing to the moon. The moon is too big and too bright for any one way to ever completely cover it. Imagine you make take rockets from here to the moon. You just have 5 rockets. Each rocket will only land on one point on the moon. Doesn't matter how from here you can see the moon is the size of your thumb. But as every rocket goes to the moon appears bigger, uncoverable. Each rocket then lands on one point on the moon and has to cover every part of the moon to be like, yeah, we know the moon. Which is why we use satellites from far away. The point is to realize that all ways lead to the moon, but no way covers all of the moon. Every way leads to the moon, and when you land on the moon, you're on one point of the moon. Don't confuse that for I've conquered the moon. No. This is the first to get there. Simulation theory is like this moon theory, but that Kubrick shot the moon landing in Hollywood. That's what I feel about simulation theorists. I don't. If there's one group of philosophers I dislike more than Stoics, it's simulation theorists. It's just weak philosophy. But sorry. Time. See, that's what I said. I forgot about the music, and we did a lot of talking. But no, thank you, Zendala. Um, if I'm not mistaken, are you the same person from Twitter who I had DM'd and told the stream is happening? I'm not sure. Um, but welcome, anyways. Thank you for coming. Let's please. What do you want to do? Let's try this one. Yes, Nagarjuna also says that samsara is nirvana, but the way he says that is exactly that why people confuse it. Um, the there's that old Zen saying. Before learning Zen, the mountains and trees are the mountains and trees. While learning Zen, the mountains and trees are not mountains and trees. And after learning Zen, mountains or trees are just mountains and trees again, or somewhat like that. That is how Nagarjuna implies samsara is nirvana. That when you attain nirvana, it's not a realm or a state or a heaven or anything like that. It is a change in your comportment. That when you achieve nirvana, you come back to the same world of samsara. You just don't see it as that, right? So it is very much in line with what he says earlier. In fact, nirvana is samsara because samsara is empty. We just are in the delusion of dukkha that it is not empty, and nirvana is the realization that this world is in fact empty. Swabhavata is niswabhavata. So, yeah, yeast in the bread. Realization is the yeast in samsara. Yes, because without the yeast, the bread would never rise. It's not some impurity that you can take out of the bread. It is in fact the very conditioning that makes the bread, and without it, the bread would indeed be no thing at all. It would be empty, right? Empty in the sense of there would be no bread, but the yeast is also that which literally makes the emptiness in the bread. It makes these pockets. If you don't have yeast, the bread is a block, a Parmenidean monad. And you add too much yeast, then you just then you just get a Heraclitean flux. It's just all bubbly. You put the right amount of yeast, you get this world full of dukkha, but also a world in which the dukkha can go away. Which is not that bad, I think, all things considered. I'd rather live in a world like this than like one that's even more chaotic and always changing. Like the nihilist hedonist world, or like one that doesn't change at all and is just completely eternal, always the same, and determined by its self-essence. I think this world is all right. I don't think it's the best of all possible worlds. I do think it's the most possible of the best worlds. I don't know what that means. But actually, hang on. Yeah, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna warm up my tea. We're back. All right. So, um, let's see. What else? What else? If there's anyone that has any questions or philosophy-based stuff they want to talk about, Let me know in the comments. I'm just chilling here. I don't really have anything to do. Might do this for a little bit and then might not do it. Not doing is also a doing. But let's try this next jam track. This one is in A minor. Yes, loudly. Got it now. Blues arises from samsara, but also transcends it. Therefore, so no, 100%. I uh, actually talked about that just a little bit before you joined the stream. Um, I talked about it a little bit about how it's that it came from um, um, slave music and gospel blues in the deep South in America, um, and as a oral tradition. Which again, I didn't mention this, but as someone who is born and raised in India, as in a Hindu family, one thing that has always been um, intriguing to me or interesting to me at least is the fact that unlike a lot of the Western religious or spiritual texts, um, the Vedic corpus, the Vedas were not written down. They were transferred. They were transmitted mainly through oral transmission, and this was like a lot of information that was passed on in this like student to teacher to student to teacher to student um, model, or like father to son kind of model. Um, of course, there was like a lot of casteism and all that involved in that. But the point is that it it's not because they couldn't write it down, right? It's not that they didn't have writing; they had writing. It's just this stuff was supposed to be esoteric. You don't put it down in writing because the people who, if you put it down in writing, people won't understand what it's really supposed to mean, what the meaning is. But when you perform it in its entire polysemic plurality, right? So that's why when the Sanskrit mantras are chanted, they're chanted with the similar kind of accentuation of a blues mantra, a blues piece. For example, if I were so there's a classic kind of Vedic Hindu hymn, um, and it the way that it is usually chanted is Om. Wait, I forgot what the verse is. um, no, what is it called? It's this. It starts with an Om. Of course, they all do. Um, right? Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, yeah. So it goes Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Amritam Gamaya. And the intonation here is important. The little wavering at the end, the letting it be, the fluttering of the pitch, the reaching of one note into the other as a continuum is an important part of the the ritual chanting and the meditative practices in Vedic religion and Hinduism and even Buddhism and Jainism, where it's not just the words on the page that matter, it's how you say them, how you express them, and whether your words not only convey what they mean, but can leave the other person with an impression of that which um, cannot be said with words, but like a shadow follows every. How necessary is balance and embodiment in the saying of logos? I mean, it is balance is everything, right? I think one of the problems in European philosophy specifically um, is that there was only focus on the mind, and logos was rationality and reason and nous and intelligence, and philosophers became um, you know uh, nerds. But the Greeks were as much, the psyche was as much important to them as the soma was, as the body was. Um, which is why philosophia wasn't just a cultivation or of a love for episteme or knowledge, but a kind of wisdom that brought together knowledge and technique and praxis, right? Something that you had to do. And the Greeks focused on their physical practice as much as they did on their intellectual practice, which is something that was lost, I think, in the East, maybe in the West. Um, uh, and I mean, not just the Greeks, right? This is found in other quote unquote pagan cultures. And if you consider the Eastern cultures, Vedic Hinduism, and all that to be also the same Indo-European descent as the Greeks, we're also pagan. But you see in the Vedas as much as you see in any of the Buddhist texts or any of not the Vedas themselves, but in like the Vedic corpus or the Hindu traditional corpus or the Buddhist set of texts, there's always a focus. There's always a focus on balance. Um, and this idea that the mind is what is important, and the mind is where I am, and the mind is who I am, and then as long as the mind is fine, the body can go to hell, and the body, don't take care of your body. And there's this stupid shit discourse online with leftists who are saying that being healthy and being fit is like rightist or ableist discourse, which is, I heard about the ableist thing, definitely saw the rightist. He's like, oh yeah, right wing people want you to be fit. It's fascist propaganda to be fit and to be sure, okay. It explains why a lot of leftists are the way they are. Maybe they should go exercise and then take a shower afterwards. Or just take a shower regardless. Because next thing they'll be like, cleanliness is a fascist propaganda. I used to be a Marxist. No, even the skinny ones are just kind of unkempt. And I know I used to be one of those. It's easier to not give a shit about things when you give a shit about yourself a little bit. Could an undergrad philosophy program help restore balance, or is it the case that most philosophy programs, given the way they are being run? Oh yeah, they 100% contribute to disembodied thinking. They're so deep in the Cartesian, Kantian, Hegelian pipeline. Well, in on the continental side, and in the analytic side, it's just it's analytic philosophy. What do I say about that? And it's really like time to bring back the existentialists. Time to bring back Merleau-Ponty. Time to bring back Gabriel Marcel, Hannah Arendt, Heidegger, even. um, right? Because like, don't you think that this idea of like analytic continental and then within continental like post-Kantian and all of these like ideas, these themselves contribute to disembodied thinking. I think personally, could studying the phenomenon, I think depends on how you study it, right? If you study it in a university context, in a classroom context, probably not. It'll be too academic. But if that same class is held outside, like by the beach or in a park or in the hills, where you do the same reading, the same teacher, the same students, you have the same assignments, but you just, or have it in like a nice cafe where you play the music or something like that. Maybe that would be something different. Right? I think academia itself is so siloed and everything is about semesters and courses and modules and deadlines that we barely do anything. Yes, I talked to my students about that. That goes back to the saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and when the student is really ready, the teacher will disappear. Um, if you don't mind, I can elaborate on that story, that idea that you're talking about it, because I heard a monk talk about that online a couple of years ago. I can't remember. I heard a real Zen monk who had finished their training in a Zen temple was talking about this. Um, he's like, when you meditate, you're supposed to focus on your breathing, you count your breathing or whatever, and every time you lose count, you lose track, you're supposed to bring yourself back. The more sort of hardcore version of that is that the master will hit you with the kyosaku, with the flat stick, like with you, to sort of get you back into attention. But it doesn't just extend to, it's not limited to just the act of meditation and like, okay, it's time to meditate, so I'm going to sit in a meditation pose and meditate, and if I lose track, the master will whack me. No, they want you to be meditative in your entire like waking, sleeping like life. So you have to be meditative when you're walking around in the temple grounds, or you're just sitting in whatever, making food or whatever, and the master will pop out of nowhere and whack you. And initially, the new students are a bit, phased by this. They're like, "Oh no, we got to keep. Where can the master come from? Where can the master come from? Oh, he could come from anywhere." And the point is that yes, the master could come from anywhere, just like the dukkha is in everything. So instead of fretting over ourselves trying to find the in which one thing the dukkha is, if you know that the dukkha can be in any one thing and all things, you can sort of take a step back. And the trick is to sort of treat the master's hitting like you would treat a mosquito that is bothering you. After some time, given enough patience, the mosquito it can continue to sit and sting you, but it does not bother you. Yes, you stop getting disrupted. Like the body and the mind are sort of in a way united, but the idea is that even when you are hit, the hitting goes from your body to your mind, and then there's a reaction that comes from that. And the idea is to seize that, to gain control, not control it as if it were a thing, but realize that reaction, that disruption is us attempting to control. And the idea is to let go of that control, that when you get hit, don't react. When you get hit, don't react. And ultimately, when the master will keep hitting you, and when they understand that you've got the trick, you're not reacting to them anymore, that their hitting is no use on you anymore. they'll stop hitting you. And that's when the student is fully ready and the teacher disappears. I think I've gotten the gist of that sort of correctly. Can philosophy be done individually? Should it be done individually? It's a culture. No, I don't think philosophy should be done individually. It's very dangerous. I did philosophy individually, and I know my mistake. Philosophy should be done in the guidance, either a group of people who can, like, especially if you're doing like esoteric or existentialist philosophy, it should be done with a group of people or under the guidance of a teacher. If the culture of Person City is not very alive, should one even attempt? You can still attempt philosophy in the Western tradition, but the point is that how will you know what your interpretation is right or not? More often than not, you succumb to your own confirmational bias because we're all told we're all smart. And then you read it, you think you understand it, then you convince yourself that your understanding is the right understanding. And then that, because you're alone, that makes it worse for you. So now go talk to people about it. Go online, come here. Find, ask, like, we'll do more like reading sessions and stuff like that. I really believe like philosophy needs more like less conferences, more cults. Is there an existential text that is about loving oneself that one stops caring about other things? I mean, just the lessons of the Buddha. It's not about loving oneself, but it is that you realize that neither yourself nor other things are really things. If you're looking for Western philosophy, something to get you out of Western philosophy would be Maurice Merleau-Ponty's Phenomenology of Perception and Gabriel Marcel's Being and Having. But again, those are they can be like an antidote to the general like Cartesian, Kantian, or even like Schopenhauerian, Nietzschean kind of idea. Being and Having, especially, Gabriel Marcel is a beautiful writer. He was also involved in like French drama, so he writes very well, and he is very in kind of a Christian. Like he was given the title of Christian philosopher, but he didn't like it. But he loved music. He says he loved like 4 things in his life. He loved music. He loved vacations to the mountains with his parents. He loved his family gatherings where he met his cousins and his aunts and uncles, and he loved his wife. And it's in these 4 sort of things that he asks the questions about philosophy. That he's like, these are the things I have. And is it because of these things that I can be what I am, or is it because of what I can be that I can have these things? And being is not something that can be had. You can't have it. But the point is, if you chase something that can't be had as wanting to have it, you're on a futile, goose chase. Another option is, Zen could probably give better recommendations, but really anything from the Buddhist tradition would help. Practical philosophy for initiation into the rites of love. There's no rites of love, man. I'm going to use a Nietzschean way here. Nietzsche talks about the will in Beyond Good and Evil. And he says the problem with the word will is that it has convinced us that the will is one thing. and there is one thing called the will, and that will is either free or determined or whatever. It's so stupid. I think the same thing about love. When we say love, we don't know what love is. Is it attachment? No. Is it infatuation? No. But also, yes. Also attachment. It's not just attachment. It's not just infatuation. It's not just a caring. It's not just a respect. It is innocent in a sense, right? But it can become rancid, right? I think this was from I don't remember where it was from. That hate isn't the opposite of love. Hate is just love gone sour. Apathy is the opposite of love, when you don't care. But the reason I was saying love, like one word, is because the Greeks had like 6 words for love, right? Philia, from where you get philosophia, meant like a brotherly love, right? Where you get Philadelphia from, the city of brotherly love, right? Philo. They had eros, from which we get erotic, which is passionate love, the love between lovers. There was storge, the love between parents and child, or like a parental kind of love, where there's like you have a mother figure or a father figure, or someone who looks up to you. And they have xenia, love for others, for guests, like where we get xenophobic from, xenophilic and xenophobic. Xenia means others, so xenophilic itself is loving of the love of others, kind of, right? What those, none of those have rituals, right? In fact, I would say in a sense that love is precisely what is between the rituals, what escapes any of the rites, any of the rituals. Grasping nothing conceptually, phenomenologically. I want to say yes, but I also want to say that is something that you can only tell for yourself by grasping nothing. Because if I were to say no, you'd try to not grasp it, because you're like, what's the use? And my point is that you're still thinking in use value terms. Can grasping nothing help overcome? You're thinking of nothing as something that can be used to overcome. But you're still thinking in institutional terms. You're still playing their game. You're still thinking of it in terms of a remedy for an illness. Yes, no thing in the end must grasp us. And when the no thing grasps us, then we are overcome by the no thing and not the complexes of institutional affiliations. Then we don't need to overcome them, right? But the point is that you can't reach that. It's the goal that is no goal. It is that which cannot be grasped, right? And to take, to quote from the Bhagavad Gita, karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phale heturbhu mate sangoshto karmani. You have the rights to your action, not to the fruits of your action. Don't focus on the fruits of your action, because if you do, you'll just be stuck in inaction and not end up doing anything. Which is why if I tell you kind of yes, it can, you will try to grasp it like it is some secret thing. If I tell you no, you'll give up on trying it, which will be failure before you even started. If I say both yes and no, then this is contradictory. And if I say both neither yes nor no, then I'm saying that the nothing is nothing, and it's not. It's nothing. This is Nagarjuna's tetralemma, his Chatushkoti, that he says. And every question of this sort can be answered in this. Every question of like a metaphysical sort can be answered in this way. meditation, in my view, is doing nothing so that nothing might do something. Yeah, no, that's exactly how I approach blues philosophy. Um, I mean, life in general, I guess. But look, Fruity and Onion, the point is ultimately that the Buddha did mean for his teachings to be a pragmatic solution to the problems of life. His point was to not look, okay, if I want to explain it in the simplest, most colloquial language, but ironically also which might get across the point. The Buddha says everything is dukkha. Everything is suffering. All the things are suffering because we think they have value and we value them, and we think they are self-value, that a computer is valued because it's whatever its specs say, not because you know uh, it was made by someone or made from something, and the material is valuable, the labor is valuable. It is all of these things that and none of you know it is all of these things and not any one of them that cause this laptop to have value. It's not just the material, not just the labor, not just the marketing, not just the specs, not just the capabilities and all that. It's all of those together and not any one of those. And so the point is then to realize that if everything is suffering, this delusional suffering, the complex, then there is a solution. That's what the Buddha says. To ending the suffering. But then that solution cannot be a thing, because things are the source of dukkha. The way out is no thing, but to think of the way out as a way out to something, to some goal, to some aspiration, is to make the thing out of nothing. You make it a thing, and when you make it a thing, it loses its nothingness, and you get conditioned to think of it as a thing. So yeah, that's kind of how that's where I stand on stuff. My both my philosophy and my music are my playing are influenced by the thought of Buddhist philosophers like Nagarjuna, the Buddha himself, and Western philosophers like Heidegger, Merleau-Ponty, Nietzsche, and even older Socrates, Pyrrho, Heraclitus. In philosophy of science, there's Paul Feyerabend, who said he was an entertainer first and a philosopher second, and sometimes I think of myself like that as well. Can be said, for the lack of the word doctrine, of no thing is founded on aesthetic grounds, as Wittgenstein said that. Is not founded on aesthetic grounds, right? Like, no, and you're right. The doctrine of nothing, that there is, it's the lack of a better word. This entire thing, like the problem of being, is the lack of a better word, right? If you had the word for being, we'd be able to say it. I mean, Hindus claim that Om is that. The Buddhists say that Buddha's silence is that. It is the literal lack of a better word. Um, of nothing is founded on aesthetic grounds, as Wittgenstein says that ethics and aesthetics are no. So Wittgenstein is right. Ethics and aesthetics are one, but the doctrine of nothing is that which founds ethics and which grounds ethics and aesthetics, and allows us to see that ethics and aesthetics can be seen differently or can be seen as one. The doctrine of no thing is basically the doctrine of, in a way, pure possibility, of the emergence of categories like ethics and aesthetics, and the possibility that we can understand that these categories are can be reconciled or further separated or abolished or new ones introduced. It is the absence, the gap that is necessary for founding of any doctrine at all. Let's do this one. Let's do some C minor. Or actually, no, wait, this one's good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he would just cut out that sign because he didn't couldn't say. Yeah, see the absolute, but my problem with Hegel is he was still within the limits of language, while Heidegger pushes the limits of language. By calling the absolute negative, you're still stuck within the dialectical language of absolute positive and negative. It says that the ground is positive and then this is absolute negative. That's not what it is. It is that absolute which allows positive and negative to even be as opposites. So if you're calling that gap absolute negative, where does it get its absoluteness and its negativity from? This is what Heidegger calls the problem of ontotheology, which is why, like, Hegel's good, but he's still way too ontotheological for my liking. Yeah, I'd like to see someone fuck to this. They'd have to go with my rhythm. And I think that's the end of the string and the end of the stream. And the end of whatever porn you were listening to this music to. Can't see the string, but it is broken. Yep, GG, well played indeed. It lasted 2 hours. Nah, they were rusty anyways. I have to get them fixed. I could try playing along. But all the other strings have probably lost their tuning. Never let a broken string stop you. Yes, it has. That's why I had to really work to make my playing continuous and not choppy and discrete. And when you play it continuously. You don't play it discretely. I mean, it's not, of course, not as continuous as like a violin, and I could never play like a fretless guitar. But the point is, if you can make continuity from discreteness, why couldn't discreteness come from a primordial continuity? Why must people have that prior ground be itself some sort of thing? My suggestion would be don't try to find it. Just play. When I was trying to find it, I couldn't find it. Yeah, I think this will be the last jab I'm going to end after this. But thank you all for coming. If you have more questions, I'm happy to answer them while we play along to this last one. I think I'll do more of these once I get my string fixed. Oh, thanks for coming. Next time I might try to do it like outside in the sun where it's nice in my balcony. Thank you, Cynthia. I can do a regular stream, but not like a guitar stream because that will be way too late over here for me to play on the amp. But I do want to do like a stream, a philosophy stream for India time as well. My fingers should keep trying to go to that string, which is not there. Here, conditioning. Absolutely. It is a feeling, it is the flow, and that there is it. Yeah, I can't put it better. It's um I'm I'm always at my most um not comfortable, but like that's the thing, not comfortable, but I'm always at my most favorite way of feeling when I'm doing, not just when I'm playing guitar, but whenever I'm doing something that makes me feel like I'm playing guitar, right? Like even like cooking, like in the last like year, I've learned how to cook because of similar like not yeah okay. There's recipes and numbers and measurements, but I just started practicing throwing in things by hand, like like moms and aunts and grandmothers and great chefs do. And it sucked in the beginning. I had to eat my own food, but then over time, I kind of just got used to it. I don't know if it was my palate that got used to it, or I just got better at grabbing stuff and measuring stuff by hand or feeling. But you're right; it's a feeling, it's a flow, and it when you're in it, it just when it turns out right, you understand it. Um, so thank you everyone for being here. For Dasein for being here. Um, One last thing I want to do is uh, just announce that uh, Nikki on Return to Hegel is streaming at 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. Eastern, so that's about 2.5 hours from now. And she's going to be talking to Daniel Tutt about like Marxism and Heideggerianism. So it should be a super interesting thing. So yeah, go check out Return to Hegel's stream. I don't know if she's here. I had sent her the link to join, but I really like it. We have this like little nice little uh, community of philosophy streamers who like help each other out. Um, but yeah, man, it's the first string too. You can't even see it. It's so thin. You can see it when I bring it close to the camera, but like just absolutely invisible here. Um, Too bad. Like I kind of just cleaned them off their rust. Maybe that's what caused them to snap. I used some vinegar to like clean them. But anyways, I will try and do this once again, and we will have more fun. But thank you everyone for coming. We had a whole bunch of people watching from Twitter. We had a bunch of people watching from Twitch, um, and so thank you. Keep feeling the blues, and keep philosophizing. Peace.